Hello, it's Tom Donald from the London Contemporary School of Piano. Today we are going to play 7 variations of 251 that sound incredible. And by the way, if you're a fan of our work at the London Contemporary School of Piano, you should head on over to our website, contemporaryschoolofpiano.com, to get your free resources kit that accompany these YouTube videos. But also, most importantly, with this video series that we're giving on 251, you need to get the 251 cheat sheet because it's going to help you. So get that 251 cheat sheet from our website, from our free resources kit, print it out, hang it around your house, in every room. Really internalize these chords. It's going to really help you with so many things with your piano playing. So 7 incredible variations of 251. Let's start with the first one. I'm going to demonstrate this in 2 different keys. I'm going to demonstrate this to you in trusty C major, just so you can see where everything is. And then I'll just choose another key to demonstrate it in so we can break things up a little bit because we don't want to get too stuck in C major, but it's also good to understand what's happening with these different shapes. So that's the methodology I'm going to follow. It works very well for our students as well at the school. And by the way, so many of you, if you do feel a bit stuck with your piano playing and you need help, you should just head on over to our website anyway to find out if we can help you. If we're the right fit. We offer so many great programs and courses at the school that help people from all over the world. We have students from over 35 different countries. So maybe you're ready for that new jump in your musical journey, that new kickstart. However, today I want to talk about these 7 variations because they just sound so good. So recapping on what a 251 is, it's this. That's a very common shape of a 251. But now we're going to create some really lovely variations of that. So the first variation I'm going to show you is a chord 2, a D minor 7, but I've got my thumb on the 7. I'm playing it in this inversion with my thumb on the 7. I'm going to put the D in the bass. And now this is how I'm going to travel to the chord 5. I'm going to travel to the chord 5 by just dropping my thumb down a semitone here, and I've got the G in the bass. So what is it that I'm playing here? Well, I've got the G here in the bass, B, D, F, and A. And this is a G9 chord, not a G7 chord, but a G9 chord. And by playing a 9th chord, it just adds that extra spice, that extra fullness to the sound. So it's a dominant 7 with the additional 9th. You can see this. We've got the 1st, the 3rd, the 5th, the 7th, the 9th. So let's do that again. D minor 7 to G9. And notice how well I prepared that just by dropping the thumb from the D minor 7. It's just so smooth. That's why you see jazz pianists in, jazz clubs. They look like they're in a half coma when they're playing all these really complicated chords that look like algebra on a lead sheet. It's because the shapes they're using are really, really efficient, and the muscle memory can easily remember a shape like that. So that's the quick win here. I'm playing a beautiful D minor 7 to a G9, 2 chords that are packed with beautiful, lush sounds, but I'm not actually exerting much physical energy. In fact, actually to play it in root like this takes far more physical energy than doing it like that. So that's where the muscle memory is so important. And then I'm going to land on chord C major 7 to finish it off. So I've got this, D minor 7, G9, C major 7. Let's do that again. So let's do this in another key. Let's do this in the key of B flat major. So we're going to start with the C minor 7. This is normally a C minor 7, but we're going to play it in this position with my thumb on the 7th. I drop my thumb down the semitone to the F9. Then I've got my B flat major 7. Okay, so that's the first really cool variation of 2-5-1 in a different shape. Now, let's make this even more juicier. Let's add even more juice to these chords. So we started with a D minor 7 and went to a G9. But now, why just play a D minor 7 when we can play a D minor 9? Now, a D minor 9 would be this. But how am I going to do that with one hand? I can just about squeeze it, but that's not a very good way to play it. It's not efficient, but that's what the chord looks like in theoretical terms. We've got 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. A quick rule about ninth chords, by the way. For it to be a ninth chord, it has to have a seventh in there. Some people confuse ninth chords with suspended seconds. They're different. So that's what makes a ninth chord. So, okay, how do I play this in a more efficient way? Well, I'm going to put my thumb on the seventh. So I could do what I did before. I could have my D minor 7 here with my thumb on the seventh, but I'm going to do something quite clever here. I'm going to get that D here, and I'm going to get rid of it. I've got it in the bass here, and I'm going to turn it into an E instead, and that's the ninth. So we've got the seventh, ninth, third, and fifth. Doesn't that sound so beautiful? That's just such a lush chord. But you could just walk up to a piano anytime, anywhere, and just do that. And it just, yeah, how can you beat that sound? It's just such a beautiful sound. You can even just do a bit of improv on that. Anyway, I'm just getting stuck on D minor 9 right now. I need to do the rest of the progression for you. So here's a really nice trick. We're now just going to get this C and we're going to take it down a semitone to the B and put the G in the bass. What is that? Well, if you look at it, we've got the G7 here, but we also have this note here, the E and the A. So what is that? What do we call that? We actually call it a G13. Don't worry about the theory. All we need to worry about is the muscle memory. We've set ourselves up with this D minor 9, we drop the thumb, and we've got the G13th. Isn't that beautiful? So I'm just circling between the 2 and the 5 now. And now the chord 1. Want to guess what that is? Again, we can look at the numbers here. We've got the first note, the root note, the seventh, the ninth, the third, and the fifth. So that's a C major 9. Let's play this through a few times. Let's do this in another key. We'll do this in F major. So we're going to get the G minor 9. Let's go. C13. F major 9. Let's loop that round a few times. Remember, use your muscle memory. You don't want to get yourself into a feedback loop of theory that just slows you down and tenses you up. Find these shapes with your fingers and let your fingers guide the way. It's really important. try this in different octaves as well, just to improve your flexibility. So that was the second one. Okay, now we're going to take a slight total shift of our 2-5-1s right now. And we're going to look at a minor 2-5-1 because they also sound incredible, minor 2-5-1s. And they bring out some different opportunities. So a minor 2-5-1 works in quite a different way because we're calculating the chords from a minor scale, but the numbers are still the same. So if I have a C minor scale, here's chord 2. Now chord 2 is not just going to be a standard D minor 7 chord, it's going to be what we call a half diminished chord because we have the A flat here in a C minor scale. Often a half diminished chord is notated as D minor 7 flattened 5, a minor 7 chord with a flattened 5th. You might find it easier to process thinking of it like that as well. So it's got two names effectively. We can call it a D half diminished or we can call it a D minor 7 flattened 5. Whatever rocks your boat, but it's all about the muscle memory again. Now if I drop the top two notes, I get to my G7 here, and even in a minor 2-5-1, the chord 5 is exactly the same. In a minor key, the dominant chord is always exactly the same. So we've got D, D half diminished, or minor 7 flattened 5, G7, and then we're going to finish on a C minor 7. Let's just play around with that, see how that goes. You'll hear a lot of minor 2-5-1s in some of the more Latin jazz type pieces. And it sounds great with the blues as well by placing it into the left hand. Playing a C minor blues scale over the top of that fits like a glove. So that's a really cool variation of our 2-5-1s. Let's try that in another key. What about the key of G minor? So we're going to have, what's this chord? The A minor 7 with the flattened 5, D7, G minor 7. Let's do it. Give it a slight bossa nova feel to it. So that's a really lovely variation as well. Now, variation 4, we can go halfway house. I love this sort of halfway house stuff with major or minor. I love it when major and minor get tangled up in each other. We get all these really cool progressions where there's that beautiful nostalgia of the minor influencing the major, and now the major sounds a bit sad and maybe the minor sounds a bit happy, and the two are just tangled up with each other. And that's the joy of our harmonic system in music. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a 2-5-1 and we're going to mix up some of the major and minor concepts there. So for instance, we're going to make the chord 2 again, the half diminished, the D minor 7 with the flattened 5, resolved to the G7, the dominant 7, but instead of ending on a C minor 7 like we would play in a bog standard minor 2-5-1, we're going to have a happy ending on C major 7. So we get this. This happens more times than you might think in a lot of songs. So a lot of songwriters really enjoy that nostalgia, setting it up like it's a minor 2-5-1, but it's actually still all in a major key. We're just borrowing a little bit of minor here. It sounds beautiful in ballads, you know, this sort of thing. Let's try that in another key. Let's find a really lush key like E flat major. So this is going to sound beautiful in E flat major. Here's our E flat major scale. Let's build this up methodically. Chord 2 is this, on the F. So that's a F minor 7. Now I'm going to turn that into an F minor 7 with the flattened 5. So I'm going to take the 5th note down, the semitone. Here we are, we've got it. We've got that beautiful half diminished tone of the F minor 7 with the flattened 5. And do it in both hands. So spend a bit of time just playing that chord. When you're practicing, just stay on the same chord sometimes. Just sort of take a little pause. Don't feel you got to rush your way through. Just enjoy the timbre and the flavour of that chord. Now, this chord is used by the likes of composers like Debussy and Ravel. You hear it in a lot of French Impressionist music. It's not just used in jazz, it's used in many different styles of music. It's got such a mysterious flavour to it. So let's get back to our 2-5-1 with the mixing of major and minor. We've got this, the F minor 7 with the flattened 5, then the B flat 7, and we're going to have that happy ending on the E flat major 7. Okay, let's jam with that a bit. I'm going to go a bit lower just for a bit more depth. Do this all day. This is such lovely harmony there. And some nice alterations. Okay, we're up to variation 5. Now, for variation 5, we're going to talk a bit about what we can do in the right hand. We're not just going to talk about chords, we're going to talk about improvisation on 2-5-1. So we can now apply any of these shapes to the left hand. Let's just go back to this basic shape in the left hand just to ground ourselves. So what can I do in the right hand when I'm playing a 2-5-1 progression in the left? What's going to work? Now, the most obvious thing that would come to most people's mind, and rightly so, would be play a C major scale. I mean, it fits like a glove, it works fine because it's all derived from that scale anyway. However, we want the sound perhaps to just have a little bit more structure to it, so it's not just a float of scalic notes. And one really good trick to do that is instead to play the C major pentatonic scale and remove the 4th and the 7th note from the major scale. That's essentially what a pentatonic major scale is. It's major music as business as normal, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, but we get rid of the F and the B. We get rid of that tritone. We get rid of the F and the B, the 4th and the 7th note of the scale. So we're now playing scale degree notes 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 1. There's something very special about the pentatonic scale. You would have heard me speak about this in other tutorials. It is the oldest scale of the human race. It is effectively the scale that connects us all together as human beings. It was probably the first scale we ever sang before music instruments like piano were ever invented. So it's a deeply human scale. And it will give the sound, in this case, when we're playing all these lovely, modern, sophisticated harmonies underneath, it gives the sound in the right hand just a bit more structure, and it really gives you a lot of freedom in the improvising. You can pretty much do what you like. So 2-5-1 in a major key is extremely compatible with the major pentatonic scale. I mean, I can do whatever I like on that pentatonic major in the right hand. I just can't go wrong. I accidentally slipped in a note outside the pentatonic major, but it sort of didn't matter because I've got that strong foundation there. So even if I do accidentally throw in an F or a B, that's okay. But that pentatonic as a basis works really well. So let's put this to test in another key. What about the key of A flat major? So we're going to have this in the left hand, B flat minor 7, E flat 7, A flat major 7. Now don't be disheartened if it takes you a while to find these chords by yourself in different keys. And if it does take you a while, it's because probably you haven't gone over to our website, contemporaryschoolofpiano.com, and gotten the free resources kit that accompany these videos and getting that 251 crib sheet. Because that 251 crib sheet, I mean, by now I would hope it's it's hung up all over everywhere in your house. You put it everywhere, so it's looking at you. Get those chords into your mind. It's there's so much great practice we can sometimes do away from the piano. Just take the sheet with you when you're on a train somewhere or you're waiting somewhere, and you can just take it out and have a look at it in different keys. Like, oh, yep. All these things really make a difference. And it brings you closer to music, because many of you are here watching this video because you want to get closer to music. You want music to be a bigger part of your life. So, I mean, A flat major. So how do I calculate my pentatonic in the key of A flat major? 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. I've got these notes. I'm going to go a bit bossa nova. This is what it looks like in the key of A flat major. Go back to C major. So that as a variation works really well. Pentatonic major on top of the 251 in the left hand, the major 251. So another very, very nice improvisory variation on 251 that works really, really well is a more descriptive approach in the right hand. So what do I mean when I say descriptive? Well, there are actually two types of improvisation that we can consider in the right hand. And we're going to be talking about this in some future videos. This is really powerful stuff. There's what I would call global improvisation. What I mean by global, I'm not using my own language here, but it's when a scale can very effectively plug into a chord progression. And you can have a universal scale like a major pentatonic. I mean, major pentatonic, it's so passive, it's never going to offend. There's so much beautiful structure to the sound because of nature, and it's so human. You can plug that into an entire song and just improvise over the whole song, and you can't really go wrong. So that's like a universal global scale that fits the song. A more descriptive approach is when you are improvising on the chords, and rather than thinking of it as a scale, you're living by each chord, living chord by chord, so to speak. And you can then use that as a way of creating some interesting licks in the right hand with your 251s. So a really simple version of that would be, I get my 251 in the right hand, but I'm now going to create a riff out of that or a lick out of that. And I do that by just breaking up the chord, ascending and descending in different orders. And I can get something like this. I've created a very jazz-like run there, a very familiar sounding jazz lick, just by arpeggiating the notes out of my 251. So let's try this in a couple of different keys. What about in the key of B flat major? What about in the key of G major? Let's really test ourselves with this. What about in the key of D flat major? I know I'm going quickly here, but I just want to really demonstrate this to you. What about in the key of A major? If any of you are saying, Tom, slow down, that's okay. You can stop the video and you can go to your piano with our resources kit, with the cheat sheet, the crib sheet, I should call it, and practice this slowly, work this out methodically in different keys. You're not running a race when you're learning music. Only run at your own tempo, and that's what it's all about. You might just want to tick off 2 or 3 keys to start with. You're not going to learn all 12 keys in 1 week. The brain needs time to catch up. So it's always good to maybe learn 2 keys per month, and then in 6 months, you've got all 12 keys. That's only half a year. So you can think of these things in different ways. But let's just do this in a few more keys just to demonstrate, to try and emphasize. I'm just randomly changing key here. Okay, I'm losing count here, but we're up to variation 7. So what are we going to do for variation 7 of our... No, we're up to variation 6. See, I really am losing count right now. To be honest, I could give you 100 variations of 251 today, but we would be here for hours on end. So I decided to keep the magic number 7 because that's going to be a really good, practice target for you. You can arrange that into your routine. There's enough variation and interest there without it getting too much. So this 6th variation of 251, well, this is one I particularly like because it makes the ending just feel a bit more final. So this is a great way to end a song with a 251. And I'll show you what this looks like in our trusty C major. 2, 5, 1. But what have I done to the chord 1? I've added an F sharp to it. And an F sharp is from a magical mode known as the Lydian mode. That's where the 4th note is raised, upper semitone, a sharpened 4th, a C major 7 with a sharpened 4th. And there's different ways I can play a C major 7 with a sharpened 4th. I can even just remove the C and play these notes. I can even get rid of the 5th. I can even add the 9th. Have the 9th there, major 9th with a sharpened 4th. I can even play all of those notes at the same time and they sound beautiful. It creates a beautiful dreamy ending. And of course I can use more dissonance like we have in the earlier variations of 251 to get effects like this. Particularly great if you're ending a song like a ballad. The sharpened 4th makes the major 7 sound even more static and mysterious, slightly magical sound to it. You can really enjoy this, particularly on the higher register of the piano. Great for improvisation, particularly when improvising out an end into a song. I'm having too much fun. Let's do this in another key. What about D flat major? So, on to our final variation, if I haven't totally lost count by now. All these chords are luring me in, and I'm just getting lost in the dreamlike quality of them. So this seventh variation is probably my favorite, so I've left it for last. So what would I say about this seventh variation? This is where the magic of 2-5-1 can really make a piece really move in different ways. We don't actually have to have the 1. Who said we had to have the chord 1? I call this 2-5 no 1. So what is 2-5 no 1? It's where I just don't play chord 1. I just leave it out. So go away, chord 1. We don't need you. We're going to keep this thing hanging. This is great for really funky progressions. This is great when you want to get a bit bluesier. Well, let me demonstrate. Let's go back to one of those variations we earlier did, the D minor 7, for instance, to the G9. But we're not going to do this. That chord's, we're going to leave it out. This is what happens. There, right? Just on the 2-5. Loop that around all day. I can use that to add some minor blues to the right hand. In this case, I'd add D minor blues, because that syncs in really nicely with the D minor 7 chord. And I don't need the chord 1 at all. I can live without it. I think the chord 1 returns us to the cocktail bar, but we don't have to be in the cocktail bar. It can be a little bit more edgier, leave it hanging, And we can do it in different keys. So I've switched to the 2-5 of D major, but I'm not going to play D major. Back to the first key. Gets fun now. So you can get that 2-5-1 crib sheet, because you've got to have to print it out a couple of times because you're hanging around your house, remember? Well, get the chord 1 section of it and just cross them all out. And just practice your 2s and your 5s. And that actually comes with extra added benefits. Not only it sounds great because it's really up in the air, but it really helps you navigate getting the smooth transitions between your 2s and your 5s. And that just adds extra detail to your practice, and also just gives you the chance to really groove it and funk it out. So yes, there's our 7 variations of 2-5-1s, but for you to get the real benefit of it, you need to head on over to our website, contemporaryschoolofpiano.com, and get the resources kit. Now, if you already have the resources kit and you're ready to up your playing to the next level, there's a few things you should consider from the London Contemporary School of Piano. I would strongly recommend joining the Complete Musician program. We have been developing this course for over 5 years now, and this course has absolutely transformed the musical journeys of people from all over the world, from over 35 different countries. The Complete Musician program is the most structured course we have that breaks down piano playing into its 4 main pillars, because the 21st century piano student wants to do all sorts of things. They want to play a bit of jazz, they want to play a bit of pop, they want to play a bit of classical, soundtrack, they want to be able to jam a bit, they want to be able to do things by themselves. They want to play a bit of everything. And traditional piano education just does not have the nutrition to be able to provide for all of that sort of bucket list. And people are busy and they don't have much time to practice. So you need a structure. Even if you do have a lot of time to practice, you even more importantly need a structure. So part of our work that we've been developing and researching over the last 15 years at the school has been based on the most effective teaching methodologies that have worked time and time again on so many different students of so many different situations, age groups and demographics. And we've really detected that there are 4 main pillars that you need to be able to develop all of those different skills. So what are the 4 pillars? The first pillar is chords, chords, chords. I can tell you the whole results of this research and development because we know this works on so many students. We've taught hundreds of students these skills and their playing has been transformed. So the first pillar is chords, chords, chords. The ability to play a lead sheet, play chords smoothly, and have an understanding of the harmony of the piano because the piano is a harmony machine. It's not a sight reading machine with a transactional or did I play the right or wrong note. And even if you want to play lots of classical music, all of the great classical composers understood chords and harmony intimately. That's how they compose music. So understanding chords connects you with music. So important. What is the second pillar? Rhythm and groove. It's so important. Like rhythm and groove is one of the most underspoken things in the music education world. So we have a big module in the program, the Complete Musician program, on groove, building rhythmic templates to your playing in different styles. So you have the flexibility to get a chord progression and literally bring it to life. The third pillar, improvisation and creativity. Without improvisation, creativity, what can you do with music if you're just stiff and you don't have a grounded relationship with the piano? You don't have to be a virtuoso. You don't have to be a Herbie Hancock, a Keith Jarrett, a Vladimir Horowitz, or whatever pianist you love to listen to, an Elton John, a Billy Joel. To learn to improvise, it's just understanding a few simple things and building up some confidence and creativity. But you need the right exercises. You need guidance on how to do those things. And then the fourth pillar, probably the hardest pillar, because I would say chords and groove are the low-hanging fruit. Once people sort that stuff out, there's so much they can do with their playing. Their progress just skyrockets. But the low-hanging fruit, they're the low-hanging fruit ones, but the ones that take really a lifelong to achieve, a lifelong to really get around is the fourth pillar, and that's arrangement and integration of all of the parts. But no one said this was a short-term exercise, right? There are quick wins in piano, there are things you can achieve quite quickly, and there are things that take time, and you need a structure, and without a structure, you're sort of lost. And on YouTube, there's just so much content out there. There's just almost too much. It's partially my fault because I'm adding to all of that. But if you do need some structure, some really properly researched structure, the Complete Musician program is the thing that you need. So just head on over to our website. You can ask about the Complete Musician program. We can answer any questions you have on it, or you can purchase the program immediately if you just click the link below, and you will join our next cohort of students taking the course because it comes with personal support from our team. It's not just a self-study thing where you're just left alone, because that doesn't work. Let's face it, you need that support. And our team have years of experience supporting students just like you, as reflected in these videos. So I hope you've had fun with these 7 variations. And let's rock on with those 2-5-1s.